I went from cutting hair to leading engineering teams in just 5 years. And the secret wasn't learning to code faster, it was applying salon skills that 99% of engineers don't have. And if you've ever worked in a completely different field, you might already have the edge that technology companies are desperate for. So today, I'm going to show you the exact mindset shift that can accelerate your career, regardless of where you're starting from. But if you stick around to the end, you may uncover some secret skills you can start applying today. Welcome to The Authentic Engineer. I'm Chris, and this is the first episode in a series where I'll be sharing my journey from salon owner to principal engineer, along with all the systems and approaches that help me accelerate my career. Now, I wanted to kick things off with my career transition story because it honestly challenges what a lot of people think about breaking into tech. There's this idea that you need to be some programming genius who's been coding since middle school with some fancy CS degree and the ability to crush every algorithm question thrown at you. And honestly, that wasn't me, not even close. I didn't have a CS degree. I went to a boot camp, and before tech, I was doing something completely different. But I knew becoming a developer was something I really wanted, and I was ready to do whatever it took to make that happen. So, if you're coming from a non-traditional background or you're thinking about jumping into tech, this one is especially for you. But even if you're already in tech, the mindset I'm going to share will be exactly what sets you apart from everyone else at your level. So my story actually starts way earlier than you might think. I've been in the salon world since I was 13 years old. My mom was in beauty school back then, and I was just a freshman in high school who kept getting into trouble. So picture this, I'm doing high school during the day and beauty school at night. By the time most people were figuring out what they're gonna major in college, I was already locked into a career path. And from 2013 to 2020, I had my own salon where I did everything. Haircuts, facials, massage therapy, you name it. It wasn't huge, but it was mine. And I handled absolutely everything from working with clients, marketing, bookkeeping, all of it. And one thing about being self-employed that really sticks with you, if you don't work, you don't get paid. PTO wasn't even a concept for me. It was a constant hustle, dealing with all kinds of clients, putting out fires, and juggling 10 things at once. And I'd always had this interest in tech on the side. I would build websites for my businesses and figure out hosting and integration. But honestly, the salon was my comfort zone. It was all I'd known since I was a teenager. Then in January of 2020, right before the pandemic hit, I made this decision to change everything. I went ahead and signed up for a coding bootcamp. It was a 6-month program where I would learn programming from the ground up. But then when that pandemic forced my salon to close, I went ahead and put all my eggs in a basket and I focused completely on learning to code. So when I actually tried to make the jump from salon work to tech, it wasn't easy. In the salon world, everything is just creative and you're thinking outside of the box consistently. But coding, it's logical, it's structured, and it's totally different. It was like my brain needed to rewire. I remember sitting there those first days in that boot camp just for weeks trying to understand what a for loop was. It was something super basic that I could just do in my sleep now, and I just couldn't wrap it around my head back then. But on top of it, it wasn't just learning new skills. This was a complete lifestyle change. Going from making my own schedule as my own boss to suddenly working a 9 to 5 corporate job, that was a whole nother adjustment. Now, I went ahead and wrapped up this bootcamp in July of 2020, and honestly, I didn't land my first tech job until December, and those 5 months of hunting were rough. In interviews, people would look at my background and you could just see them thinking, this guy has no enterprise coding experience, no CS degree, just self-taught with some bootcamp training. When I finally landed a job, people kept telling me that I was just so lucky to break in, which honestly kind of got under my skin a little bit because at the end of the day, luck isn't just about random chance. Luck is preparation plus timing, plus putting yourself out there over and over again. And here's the thing, Most people aren't willing to do the hard stuff. They're not willing to be vulnerable. They're not willing to network. They're not willing to go through dozens and dozens of interviews and just getting rejected after rejection after rejection. But I was fortunate enough that my wife gave me the best advice I've ever heard. It only takes one yes to make all those no's disappear. And honestly, she was right. I knew deep down if just one person gave me a shot, I would give it everything I had. And honestly, that mindset, not my coding skills, is what ultimately got me through the door. So, what were these salon skills that actually helped me get into tech? Now, there are three big ones that really made a difference. The first one, being able to talk to anyone. Think about it. Over 15 years in the salon industry, I've talked to thousands of clients from completely different worlds. Honestly, one day I'd be working with some multimillionaire who just sold their company, and the next day I would be giving free haircuts to some folks who were in the plaza that were homeless. But through all of this, I picked up something that was really important. People only want to hear what matters to them. I became this sort of chameleon. I was able to connect with whoever I was talking to, and I would tweak my stories and conversation style to relate better to whoever I was talking to. And in tech, this was huge. I was suddenly working with all these different people: product managers, executives, other developers, users, and they all speak different languages. They all care about different things. I remember there was this one time I was having to present this new feature to a different group of stakeholders. And instead of just doing this tech heavy presentation for everyone that was just repeated, I would completely change my approach based on who was in the room. With the executives, I would focus on more business impact. And of course, with the other developers, I got into the technical challenges. But being able to translate the complex stuff on who I was talking to, that helped me way more than just being good at coding. And the second skill was thinking like an owner. Now, when you're self-employed, your business is your baby. You would do anything for it. You put everything you've got into that business and your clients. But when I got into tech, I brought some of that attitude with me. I treated every project, feature, and bug like it was my own business. I had this ownership mentality where I wouldn't wait for someone to tell me to fix something. If I saw something broken, I'd just fix it. This is probably the biggest reason I moved up so quickly. Now, most people who've worked in corporate environments, they just do what they're assigned to them. They don't look beyond their immediate tasks. But coming from running my own business, I was always asking, how can I make this better? How will this actually work for the user? What else might break if we change this? And this owner's mindset really made me stand out because I was thinking about the whole picture, not just checking box on my to-do list. And the third skill was creative problem solving. Now, while learning the logical side of programming was tough at first, the creativity I developed in the salon would actually turn out to be surprisingly valuable. Here's the thing, in tech, not every problem is going to have a textbook solution. Sometimes you just need to think differently and come at these challenges from a unique angle. My background in a creative field gave me a perspective that many traditional trained engineers just don't have. So when I had to face these complex problems, I could just step back and spot these patterns or possibilities that weren't even obvious if you were only thinking about it technically. And this mix of logical thinking with creative approaches helped me solve these problems in ways others might miss. Okay, so for the most important thing of this whole entire conversation, we want to know how you can use your own non-traditional background when moving into tech. And I will say the first thing, you need to make sure that you genuinely love it. You need to have a passion and a bit of an unhealthy obsession, because switching to tech has completely changed my life for the better. It has also opened so many doors because I've jumped onto every single opportunity that came my way. Now, the second thing, you need to reshape your past experiences to fit the job that you want. Now, this will take a little bit of creativity, but you can always find ways that your existing skills can benefit the company that you're applying to. Let me give you an example. Let's say you work in retail and you've probably gotten really good at customer service, handling different situations, maybe managing inventory or making sales. Now, all of these can connect to tech roles that need user empathy, stakeholder management, or even product thinking. The key is to have an honest self reflection. Everyone has soft skills they've picked up over the years. The key is about connecting those dots to show how they'll help you succeed in tech. And remember, success in this field isn't about who codes the most, it's about who makes the biggest impact. The developers who can move fastest aren't always the technical wizards. They're the ones who can see the bigger picture, communicate well, and take ownership of their work. You know, looking back at my journey, the biggest lesson I've learned is this: your unique background isn't holding you back, it's actually your secret weapon. You know, I actually approach tech differently because of my salon experience. While other engineers focus purely on code, I was thinking about the people who were using our products. I brought that ownership mindset where every project was my business, not just a task to complete. And those communication skills from working with thousands of different clients, they became my superpower in meetings and presentations. Now, the truth is, the developers who move the fastest aren't the ones who code the most. They're the ones who have the biggest impact. And sometimes that impact comes from skills you've already built in a completely different field. And of course, yes, I still deal with that imposter syndrome. And honestly, I don't think it'll ever go away. But whenever those doubts creep in, I remind myself that those different paths is exactly what got me here. So, if you're considering a career change or you're just feeling stuck where you are, I want you to remember those struggles are where the growth happens. And I want you to take every opportunity, especially the ones that scare you, because those moments will transform your life completely. But in the next episode, I'm going to share how a major rejection actually became the catalyst for my career to take off. So go ahead and make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss it. Otherwise, I would love to hear from you. What skills from your past are you bringing into tech? Go ahead and drop a comment below and let's talk about it. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.